Alright, so what I'm going to be doing is hardwiring a dash cam using a Hardwire dash cam kit. So this is going to provide power to the dash cam at 5 volts, and the power coming in from the fuse box is 12 volts. So this is a transformer, and it actually has a function to turn off if the voltage falls below a certain amount. So if your battery drains to a certain point that you can set with a few options, then the camera will stop drawing power so that you don't over drain your battery. So to connect to the fuse box, we got a ground and a constant battery and an accessory. I have to, let's see, we've got our accessory, and the red is the constant battery. So for the accessory, where ignition is off, no power, I'm going to use this Micro3 fuse. 1 and 2 are not used, 5 amps unused by the system, so they're open there. So I've got a Micro, oh, where'd you go? A Micro3 Fuse Tap. And so this leg is actually unused. If we test for continuity here, the central will be the line. There's going to be no connection to this leg. It's not going to be providing power onto this leg, or in other words, to this side of the fuse. So this side of the fuse will be used. I'll plug in the original fuse in here as well, although, yeah, I guess you should. If there's a fuse in the fuse box, you should go ahead and have the fuse there. If your vehicle didn't come with a fuse, then I guess it's recommended to just not have the fuse inserted where it wasn't originally. Anyway, the other one, Micro2 fuse. I'm going to use another unused fuse, number 24. It's 20 amps, but it's not used. So I'm going to test the, I guess actually it doesn't matter the orientation for line and load, because there's no system drawing power, so it doesn't matter if the 5 amp fuse gets blown. It's not actually going to blow any system component using it. Anywho, let's give it a shot. Let's pull fuse 1 and 2. Yeah. Now I noticed something. I'm probably going to have to file down the plastic on this fuse tap. I don't think it'll fit. So this is what the Micro3 Fuse Tap looks like when it's in there. I don't know if it is, oh gosh. It actually fits without any modification. These Micro3 fuses are a little tall. I was worried that it actually wasn't making good contact, but it's pressed in all the way. If we check for continuity from the incoming load, getting that, it's passing through, so it's making good connection. It does not seem really loose, so I'd say that's good. Instead of using these crimp connections, which work perfectly fine, I'm gonna cut this off and instead use Wago connectors, so that you put in the solid or stranded wire, and it has a lever that when it closes, it locks it in really tight. And so this is for pigtailing, and I use this to wire my detached garage. They're actually to code, super safe, really convenient for projects and anything that you think you might modify in the future. Makes it really easy to connect and disconnect when you're testing things. So we're gonna go for that. So I'm gonna cut off the crimp end. So we got some, this is 16 gauge. You need about a thumbnail's worth of wire for the Wago connectors. Huh?
What you doing out there?
Doing some electrical business. What are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing?
Heading to my parents.
Okay. Tell them I said hi.
Yeah, man. Why are you fixing your truck? It's new.
I'm doing a dash cam thing.
You still doing that?
Yeah, I never actually got to it because it was like cold and I wanted to record it for the YouTube homies.
Help people out.
Yeah, man. See you, man.
We'll see you.
Bye. Oh, lost a couple strands. I don't like that. Good. Didn't lose any strands. Oh, that's not enough. Hang on. You probably want a little more than that, but that'll do. So it actually gives you a gauge here for the length. Actually, that's perfect. So give it a twist. Insert all the way. You want to make sure your lever doesn't hit, the lever shouldn't hit the sheathing. Do a pull test. Yeah, that's not coming out. All right. Gonna do the same thing with this. I'm gonna put the Micro2 fuse into number 24. It's a 20 amp fuse unused. So my load is going to be protected by this 5 amp fuse, and I'm just going to put the original 20 amp in there, which is unused, but I'll just leave it in there. Personal note, at some point during this entire process, that 5 amp fuse was blown, and either it was a bad fuse from the get-go, or at some point I crossed the constant battery and ground maybe, and blew the fuse. So you probably should either disconnect the fuses, pop them out, or disconnect your battery maybe to be even safer throughout this process after you test and make sure that you get the proper connections and the proper power the way you want it. Since replacing the fuse and using it for about a week, I've had no issues. Alright, so we got the Micro3 Fuse Tap, we got the Micro2 Fuse Tap, and number 24. Micro3 Fuse Tap number 1 and 2. We're gonna go ahead and get these situated. Then we also have to do the ground. Oh, this is constant battery. I've got this backwards. We want the accessory and the ignition only Micro3 Fuse Tap. Okay. And the constant battery goes to my system unused fuse number 20. All right, and now we got to do ground. Use one of these bolts. It's gonna take me a second to loosen that. 10mm bolt. Just gonna loosen it up a wee bit. Okay, we should be live. So rear dash cam, I've got the cable running up here, just slightly tucked under, and I pulled off this trim. You're able to just pull from the top and the bottom. It looks like there's, I don't know if I can get an angle down here. There's a few clips. 1, 2, 3. I hope the camera's getting that. So they're just regular clips, and so I'm gonna have, I just kind of pulled the wire behind this cable. I guess you could go in front too. I don't think that would pinch it, but so I'm just gonna run it down here. Maybe run it next to this box, or I guess I could go over the top of this thing. Anyway it goes, I'm gonna run it on the the passenger side on the lower trim, going underneath the lower trim over to eventually the A pillar, get it behind the airbag, and up the headliner over to the dash cam location. All right, so I tried running this line down here and actually ran it across, and I realized I wouldn't really have enough line to get back to the camera. So change of plans. Instead of going the passenger side A pillar, I'm just going to do what probably should have been obvious, and since this is on the driver's side, I'll come through the driver's side trim and go up the driver's side A pillar across the headliner over to the camera. But I'm not sure how I'm gonna route this yet. I gotta see what this trim looks like down here. So it looks like some of this just kind of pops out. high voltage wire. Maybe. It's got the orange tape on it. If I can somehow get into this channel next to the weather stripping, that would be great. Easy as pie. Running from rear camera down behind the seat, under here, behind the seat belt, in this little trim space right here, and actually went under the carpet right there, but then it kind of pops right there, kind of skirting Oh, it's hard to see, but kind of skirting the edge of the carpet under here, and I fished from there across. I basically pulled through this hole. I kind of had to come across, and then it gets down in this little channel here. It's not in the weather stripping, it's actually next to that. And then just coming behind this trim piece, and then it's gonna go up the A-pillar. Alright, so we have the airbag, and the idea is not to go in front of the airbag. It probably won't prevent it from working, but it does extend far up here. It's a curtain airbag that comes down. Anyway, best policy is to go behind it. Kind of tucking this behind this cord. It's got some friction. Alright. Rear dash camera lines run. A-pillar's back on. You put the weather stripping on first, and then you put the A-pillar back on. This little guy, there's this white, I don't know, pivot pin, but I think maybe if you pull it out, kind of get that onto the pin, okay, and then get the rest of this guy situated. Well, does that work? And once you get it in, you fix the weather stripping. I guess it seems to work. Okay, we're all bedding back up. That's nice. Glad to have that done. So here's my grand design. I know I'm gonna be using the dash cam, obviously, but I thought I might also wire up a auto dimming mirror later, and I didn't want to do an additional run, and I don't want to tap lines directly. So instead, I decided I wanted to try to just basically extend the power source location to here, and then I connect the constant battery, accessory, and ground. This cord, I'll basically just clip it short so that there's no extraneous cable so that the wires don't generate any extra resistance for no reason. This component and the transformer, or I guess downstepping 12 to 5 volts, it's all just going to be in a cavity up here, and those wires will be pigtailed into the power source. Okay, so I've got my 18 gauge wire. I just bought some cheap solid copper thermostat wire. Apparently it's recommended for you to use stranded wire in vehicles because of vibrations. There's a higher chance that, since these are not as pliable as stranded, they could actually get damaged with enough consistent vibration, I guess. Anyway, I'm going for it. So I'm going to use ground, accessory, and battery constant. So I snipped off the Hardwire kit's ground wire. I'm going to pigtail that to my Hardwire ground. Yeah, come on. Yep. Good. We've got the constant battery. I was going to use a red for that one. Okay, and finally, accessory only. Now I'll clean these up and get these kind of stashed to the side over here later. And I think I'm just gonna run this up and around chaw. I meant to show this being taken off, but basically I took off the weather stripping. I start from the back, you pop it out, you pop another one, and you kind of just work your way over, and there's quite a few clips. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So pull those out this way, and then the final thing is at the bottom there's kind of this little stubby nub, and this actually sits on top of that, and so you kind of have to put it back in. You gotta finagle it a little bit, get your trim piece wedged onto that, and then get it in from the side, and then fix the weather stripping. I'll try and do that in the end. All right, so with the A-pillar pulled off a little bit, I'm going to run my 18 gauge power line up here. Alright, I'm gonna thread this behind the airbag. Okay, that was probably the easiest part of this entire process. All right, guess I'm gonna button it back up. You know what? I think I should put the weather stripping in first. Okay. Fingers. Okay. You only need to gently score it and not actually cut through the sheathing. Just enough to give it a break point. Cool. Okay. There we go. Got our whole kit here. I think I want to just make a loop. Well, seems we've come to this. I've got, I basically curled up the extra 5-volt line that goes to the side of the dash cam for power. I curled it up and I stashed it back in here, and I don't think it's going to move around. It seems to have a happy home up here. If it does, I'll readdress that, figure out a way to secure all this. This little dongly-do, conveniently, I could kind of press the cable into this little channel here, which doesn't seem to go to anything. So that kind of holds that there. I'm hoping that while driving it does not make any noise. So again, we'll see how that goes. All that's left is for me to snip some of these wires and figure out how to maneuver, you know, this wiring here, and we'll button it up and see how it do.